So I'm Michael Dozer, and I'm a physicist working at CERN. And in fact, my area of expertise is working with antimatter, where I try to do an experiment, try to build an experiment to measure whether antimatter falls like normal matter. And because this is a really, really tough experiment, I have a quote to add to your collection, which is what I have on my door in the office, which says, "Oh, gravity, thou art a heartless bitch." But I think that's not why I'm here. The real reason I'm here is to talk about art and science, and part of that is my involvement with the art and science program at CERN, with the residencies that have taken place there. And I don't have a video to show you what happens at CERN. If you're interested, you'll find hundreds or thousands of images on the web. And I also don't want to talk about the last residencies that we've had, because in a way, that's the job of the artists. They should represent their work, and they should stand by their work, and they should bask in its glory. And we've had some beautiful results. Instead, I'm going to talk about something else, because Gerfried didn't give us any remit about what we were supposed to talk about, so I'll vent my spleen and talk about something that's been getting my goose for a long time, and that is that every time we talk about art and science projects, one of the things that people ask, or often ask, is what is it good for? Not in the sense of the outcome, but rather what do the artists get from the scientists, and what do the scientists get from the artists? And it's taken as a given that the artists are exploiting the scientists, that they get something out of it, of course, because they have all these great metaphors that come out, and they can play with this. But the real question is what the scientists get out of it. And this is a question that's been bothering me more and more. And the real reason why it's been bothering me is that it's the wrong question to ask. In fact, it's exactly the same kind of question that we ask when we ask for money from funding agencies, when we ask for money for a project, for a new research experiment. One of the first questions we have to answer for the funding agencies is, what is this good for? And the meaning there is very clear. The expectation is that it has an economical outcome. We heard yesterday at the gala the representative of the European Union, who argued that art and science collaborations are important because 4% of the GDP in Europe comes from the creative businesses. This is the reason why you should be doing art and science, because you can generate more growth for the GDP. That's exactly the wrong kind of approach. This is not the reason why you do it. Why you do it is because, as the name at CERN says, the collide at CERN, well, when you collide things, you don't get something nice and clean coming out. You don't get, let me look for my notes here, you don't get deliverables, you don't get milestones, you don't get work packages. You get chaos, you get a mess, you get junk coming out in all directions. This is what collisions produce. But what comes out of these collisions is, in this mess, the occasional gold nugget. If you think about how the World Wide Web was developed, we're celebrating 25 years of the World Wide Web now. Everybody's very proud that the World Wide Web was invented at CERN. But what it didn't rely on at that time is a committee. It didn't rely on a plan. It didn't rely on a proposal with work package, with milestones, with deliverables. What it did instead is describe a very vague idea, something that might have succeeded, might have failed. You don't know what comes out when you do an experiment like that. Occasionally, you hit a gold nugget. Most of the time, you fail. And in fact, this is what you should expect when you're doing real research, whether it be art or being science. You're walking a tightrope, and if you're not falling down, then it's because it's too easy. You have to fail. You have to know that you're not going to succeed in all these endeavors. And in fact, this is what we should be looking for in art and science, in art and in science, not necessarily together, but also separately. We should be looking for projects that are visionary, that are crazy, that are ambitious, that have a very high likelihood of failing, but not projects that can guarantee an outcome. And so the interaction between artists and scientists that I've had up to now, I'm not going to tell you what influences it has had on my life, or on CERN, or on physics, because I don't know. It's something that may not have ever had an influence. Maybe we have to do another 20, another 100 residencies before something interesting will come out. But for the while being, we should continue doing this without any guarantees, just jumping into the void every single time.